Well, good evening. Welcome to NUFC Matters post-match talk with myself, Malcolm MacDonald, Steve Hastie, and Neil Mitchell. Evening, lads.
Good evening, Steve.
Well, 2-2. I think we all expected a little bit more from Newcastle today. Malcolm, I'll start with you. What's your post-match reaction on that 2-2 draw with West Ham today?
Well, just looking back at the last match, Bournemouth, Newcastle, they started the game so brightly, those first 5 minutes. Today, it was the total reverse. And Newcastle just don't seem to be able just to do two things in a row, you know, to have a bit of quality about them for two matches in a row. It's always the reverse of what they've just accomplished. And it was such a sloppy first 5 minutes. And West Ham went ahead, you know, and then Newcastle, they sort of, it woke them up, that West Ham goal, and they started to liven up a bit. But even so, there was still general sloppiness. I didn't think there was an urgency about the team or players as we saw against Bournemouth. Why? I don't know, because you would have thought that playing away at Bournemouth is perhaps a slightly more difficult task than playing at home to West Ham. But I think it just seems that St James Park is a problem more for Newcastle United than for the away sides.
Yeah, I would agree with you. 7 draws, I think that is. Maybe it's 8. I think we've drawn more games at home now than anybody else in the Premier League. So, Steve, your reaction on today's result?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I thought that, as Malcolm said, we started off very slowly. It's a shocking mistake by Lascelles for the first goal. I don't know what he was doing. I think, anyone other than, I think if you asked him to do it again, he probably couldn't do it, because it was one of those things where you're thinking, all you had to do was just knock the ball away with your left foot and just tap it even, just connect with it, and that was it. I thought we rallied well. I thought that in the first half, I thought we were the better team. I thought we were winning more of the ball. We seemed to have a bit more about us. Second half, I thought we pitted out after about 70. I thought both teams really struggled. Then when they made their substitutions the same time as ours, I thought that they seemed stronger. They seemed to have a bit more urgency about them. There was a couple of great saves by the keeper, Dubravka, towards the end that kept us in it. We very rarely tested their goalkeeper, to be perfectly honest. And as Malcolm said, it's frustrating when you have a performance like that after such a good performance midweek.
Neil, what was your take on it today?
We scored 2 pretty damn good goals and conceded 2 bloody rubbish goals. and there's your frustration, isn't it? You know, the game seemed to go in phases. I don't wonder if there wasn't a few flip-flops out on the pitch there today as well. The West Ham started better, then we came back into it. Got a very good equaliser. I thought Kraft had a pretty good game on the right-hand side. He was always available in the overlap and did well for the first goal. And then we conceded another rubbish goal. And then the Brinks break seemed to, both halves, these Drinks breaks seemed to break everything up and change the flow of the game. And it worked in my favour for one and not in my favour for the other, you know. We get ourselves back into the game, and at least they showed a little bit of pride to get back that second, but then just seemed to peter out and run out of steam. Frustrating. As Malcolm says, it's very difficult to do a few things in a row, isn't it? When there seemed to be a bit of a mindset today. And like I say, I don't wonder if there wasn't a few flip-flops out on that pitch today as well, because the point today and the game that's just about to start with Liverpool and Aston Villa, Villa don't take anything from there. I think that it genuinely is us mathematically safe. And I think that it maybe showed a little bit today, which is frustrating.
Yeah, Malcolm, Joe Linton's getting a lot of criticism again by the supporters, leaving the comments. A lot of people saying that, you know, he just doesn't seem to, you know, he doesn't seem to know what he's doing. Lack of effort is being mentioned again. A lot of people keep saying that they feel as if he's being played because it's in his contract. You know, we've had this discussion before. What did you make of Joe Linton's performance today?
Every time he has a bit of physical contact, he finishes up on his backside. He cannot stand on his own 2 feet and just take a little bit of physical leaning on him. And for a guy who's 6'3", probably weighs about 13 stone, he seems to be a real weakling. No balance, and at times, for me, he just doesn't even look a footballer. And so why is he constantly being played? And all I can think is that it is in his contract, or somebody is putting pressure on, saying he's got to play. For what? To try and get make the most of the 40 million quid they've sold on it. They paid on him. I'm finding the whole thing a very distasteful mess regarding Joe Linton. I really am, and I'm just getting annoyed that I'm looking at other Newcastle players, and they look at him with such frustration at times because he cocks things up all the while. Yeah. And so the flow that Newcastle start to create, as soon as it goes to Joe Linton, the flow stops. And, yeah. And he doesn't look as if he's ever going to get anywhere near goal. You know, £40 million for what? What is there that suggested to somebody that Joe Linton was worth £40 million and would pay it all back in performance?
Yeah,
I really don't know. It's I can't see a good reason why somebody would have done it, and so it just I start to think, well, you know, naughty goings on and all of that. You know, because I can't see a common sense reason. I just can't find it. And I've been looking for it now for months. And nothing's changing with regards to Joe Linton. I'm sure coaches are spending time with him. He's a part of a side that's got some really talented footballers, and he's just not picking anything up. Not getting it at all.
Yeah, West Ham were quite physical today, Neil. I thought they came to try to bully us off the pitch. There's some naughty tackles getting left in, and something Newcastle shrunk away from that kind of game. But I thought they gave as good as they got the second half.
Yeah, they did, and I think the referee let a few things go he really shouldn't have. They seemed to delight in leaving their foot in at times, and then yelp like schoolgirls when they got it back. I think it was poor refereeing at times in terms of some of the tackles and the contacts. They're happy to dish it out, but they certainly couldn't take it. That's for sure. I think when it comes to Joe Linton, I think that the best comment I've just seen flash up on there. What is he? He's not a number 9. We keep being told, well, he played left wing in Germany, and then he heard Ian Dowie saying how he'd seen him play on the left wing in Germany a few times, and he thought he was very good. And I'm thinking, well, when have you seen that, Mr. Dowie? Howie, pull the other one. It's got bells on. We can all be clever and make comments like that. So I'd love to have somebody at the Premier League pay me to do co-commentary like that, because I could do that all day long and just make it up as I go along. But the question is, what is
kind, wasn't he, Ian Dowie?
Wasn't he just?
Yeah. He just didn't want to call a spade a spade.
That's right. But what is he? What is Joe Linton? And I know I hear some managers talk about it's about systems, not players. Then other managers talk about it's players, not systems. But what is he? What kind of shaped peg is he to put in a square or a round hole? Is he an octagon? Does he not fit anywhere else? You know what I mean? I can't get my head. I can't get my head around it. Is where we're going to see the best out of him, because I genuinely hand on heart believe there's a player in there.
Right, but why, Mitch? Why is Steve Bruce continuing to play him every game?
That's a superb question, and I get why you get all the conspiracy theories. You can't even say it's to get the crowd off his back now, because there's no crowd there to get on his back, other than the cat running across the keyboard playing the random sounds that they've got playing at the moment. You know, it lends more to the weight that there's something contractual keeping them on that pitch, because you can't justify it from performance. I can't now. I've given up defending them now. I can't.
Sure, but the awful thing about that is that a substandard player is holding another player back, because the other player isn't getting his first team experience.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
A lot of comments coming in about Joe Linton. Malcolm, you do a better job now than Joe Linton ever will.
Artificial knees,
probably would as well.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, it is just,
actually, who has got the artificial knees, me or Joe Linton?
I mean, Steve, we don't like to get on players' backs. We certainly don't do it at the game.
No.
You know, and it's all about opinions after the game. And but you know, I've said this from the start, and I think the FA Cup games were a key for me. Really, it highlighted these inadequacies, because the teams we were playing against, you know, he took nearly 2 games to score against teams from lower divisions. You know, he's just not the races, and I can't understand why Bruce continues to play him.
No, I know that I know we haven't got anything else. I know that, you know, we saw Andy Carroll come on today in the last 15 minutes and did absolutely nothing. And whether Andy Carroll, well, he hasn't got a 90-minute game in, and apparently, I'm beginning to wonder whether we actually scouted someone called Joseph Linton, and then we got it wrong. You know, is he actually Joseph Linton? And we went out and just got Joe Linton, because, you know, there must be a fantastic Joseph Linton out there worth 40 million quid that we need to go and look for, quite frankly. We don't like slagging players off. We don't like, but what the performances that we're seeing, and the application more than anything, there's just not there. There's nothing there. Would have been better off today playing Gale up front on his own with Matt Ritchie wide on the left, or anyone else wide on the left, and played a 5-man midfield, and we would have having Joe Linton there. Perfectly honest, you know. Matty Longstaff, Sean Longstaff. I know that one of them's injured, the other one's not. You know, he was on the bench, but it's things like that. It's not even horses for courses, is it? You know, it's baffling, absolutely baffling.
Definitely strange. Josh Blakey will, you know, Josh, there's always an alternative point of view. He thinks Joe Linton's a brilliant player. He says in a team ill suited to his talent, go back and watch his time in Germany. He was part of a very dynamic vertical front foot team. He's gone from Nagelsmann to Bruce. So, you know, we always encourage other opinions, and that is one. But unfortunately for Josh at the moment, I think he's in the minority, isn't he, Malcolm?
Yeah, yes. And the manager doesn't make a good player. The player that makes himself a good player. Okay, a manager might set up a particular way of playing, and it can suit some and not others. But nevertheless, even if you're playing in a system that doesn't suit you, you still have your football talents to show. And I'm not seeing it with Joe Linton. He keeps falling over. Well, it doesn't matter what system you play. If you're going to fall over all the time, and I see him on the ball, and I think you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught, and every time he's at risk of getting caught in possession, time and again. And so that's nothing to do with the system that Newcastle are playing, as opposed to the system that he was used to over in Germany. The system does not make a good player.
Yeah, fair enough. Mitch, just want to touch on, we're still going to talk about the game. Just a quick one on that. Any truth that we talked about this offline in the Twitter articles in first. Henry Maurice is linked with the Qatar and BN regarding the takeover.
Difficult to say, but I mean, look, he's a real name. He's a real name that was on mine and Steve's radar a long time ago. We were batting his name around at least in January, February of this year, if not in October of last year, and beyond. The name's real, the company's real, his interest is real. I'm not convinced how real his money is, though he could leverage that money, I'm quite sure. The timing of his name re-emerging, however, was at best odd. And in everything that we've experienced with this on the geopolitical level, remember when that his name reappeared, there was that random Twitter account that appeared with the picture on the profile picture that was, if you Google image searched it, it was a convicted American fraudster from Lancashire or something like that.
Yeah.
Claiming that the Murray's bid was real and it was this and it was that. There's definitely some sort of like levels of strangeness going on in social media, bearing in mind that the reports a couple of years ago that suggested that Qatar was involved in rubbishing other bids for the 2022 World Cup in a very similar way. I don't think that's coincidental, and I don't think that happens to be, unconnected, should we say. It's very, very difficult, though, to pick what's real, what's not. You know, you've got the Marseille fans going mental at the minute because there was this news report about PIF being interested in Marseille. And let's all remember which television station it came from. It was a Qatar and Turkey Libyan-backed television station that was branded a terrorist organisation by Egypt, Saudi Arabia and the UAE about 18 months ago. So, you know, there's some weird shit going on out there. Let's be honest about it. It's really difficult to know what's real, what's not, what's disinformation. And let's be fair, this disinformation came from Saudi Arabian side as well. And Steve, so there's stuff out there that is very difficult to nail down and to understand what's going on. We just genuinely have to sit tight, not react, not bite, and keep cool and wait for the reality to happen.
Sure. Do you also think, though, Mitch, that that possibly Ashley is winding the situation up, trying to push it forward?
He wants his money, Malcolm.
Yes, absolutely.
He's looking at the high street at the minute and seeing bargains, seeing things that fit in with his retail empire that mesh better than Newcastle United Football Club, that in the long term will make him a lot more money than Newcastle United Football Club and get his brands worldwide and on the high street and probably in every other shopping centre across the country. He wants his money. He wants it in the bank account and he wants it in yesterday. So yes, he'll be agitating, but that's all he'll be agitating for. If you look at the stuff that's happening, it's not like other bids before where he's rubbishing people and he's rubbishing the buyer. In fact, if anything, he's staying absolutely mum about the buyer, and that's because he wants his money and he wants it now.
Yes, and he knows that these are real and genuine.
Absolutely, Malcolm, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Sam Robson asks Steve, well, he asks Mitch and Steve, but Steve, I'll come to you. If worst comes to worst, won't happen, but any chance that BZG would come back in for us? You obviously had dealings with those guys.
No, I don't think so. Not that we've heard. In fact, we have heard that we have heard the word no. They were out of it. They were out a bit long. Before Christmas, they were out around about October time. We went over. We met them. We met people here first in December. We went over. Neil and I met them. By the time we were meeting them, it was like trying to convince them that there was something better that they could do. There was better ways that they could have taken the deal forward. We had other people who had come to us and said, if you know BZG, then we can help and assist, which is what we went over to do. Well, which is what we did when we were over there. And we thought, yeah, there was a certain level of interest, but the key to it was always convincing Sheikh Khaled that he wanted to step back in. Now, Sheikh Khaled didn't want to step back in at Christmas time. He couldn't be convinced to step back in after that. And since then, obviously, we've had COVID, we've had financial issues all around the world. They are very much into property, real estate, and the real estate market at the moment is completely flat. If they have buildings that they rely on rental, then again, that's an area that becomes very, very suspect for them. So I think, if anything, they would just sit back and watch for the next 12 months, maybe even longer, before they then considered, if at all, venturing into football again. I think, I'm not saying all our eggs are in one basket, but we're not far off, are we? These eggs are ready to hatch now. Quite frankly, they've been sitting there incubating for so long, and I think it's, as Neil says, we just got to hold tight now. Just got to hold tight. Avoid all the brickbats that are coming our way, all of the non-stories, and just hope that and pray that PCP have done everything that needs to be done, and the Premier League can be convinced that this deal is the best thing for football, for Newcastle United, for the Premier League, and for TV.
Yeah, getting back to the game today, Malcolm. Who was your man of the match?
Yeah, good question. Nobody in the back line, that's for sure. Actually, John Joe Shelby impressed me today, and he got a terrific goal. I just wish, we saw that second equalising goal, him getting into the box, and he's absolutely terrific in little situations like that. And I just don't see enough of him getting into the opposing box. I see him more sort of wanting to play with our centre halves, for heaven's sake. Get forward. I'd much prefer to see him as the more forward midfielder and somebody covering around him, rather than him covering around somebody else. And today, I thought he was. I thought he was the real bright star of the Newcastle side, and got a terrific goal to level the game up again. So yeah, I think John Joe Shelby.
Yeah, he'd get my vote. Mitch, what about you?
Same. The thing about Shelby is, when he's playing that quarterback role, he's got the ability to play these Hollywood balls and spray them around. But if you take those balls that he plays from, say, the middle of our half to the middle of the opposition half, and play those balls from halfway to the middle of their half into the box, it'd be much more devastating. And when he gets into the box, he showed today he's got the ability to touch and finish. Probably as good as any midfielder, you could name. And he needs to be put into situations where the balls he plays cause problems, and instead of just opening play up. And I know he probably just wants to get the ball, but somebody maybe needs to just tell him, bugger off and let somebody else do this bit. You do the bit in the devastating areas of the pitch.
Yes.
Because today, absolutely, in that devastating area, he was superb today.
Yes.
And we need more of that from him.
Yeah. Steve, would you agree, Shelby today?
Yeah, I would, yeah. And to get that devastating Shelby, you need the back two pressing a little bit further. The defend far too deeply. I don't know whether they just have no confidence in their own pace and they're worried. But other than Antonio, they were never going to get beaten by anyone today. You just need that little bit more organisation in the back four. You need the fullbacks just cutting in at that particular time. Give Shelby the opportunity. Take Shelby's space away from in front of the front two. Take that 15, 20 yards away from him. Give him the confidence to go forward. And you've always got Bentaleb behind him, or whoever happens to be playing alongside him. Bentaleb came on today. But yeah, it was a great finish. And the one thing about him is he doesn't panic in the box. We've seen other players that do. He doesn't panic in the box because he's so confident that he can do it with 1 foot or two. And I thought the way that he took the ball off Gale, because that's what he did. He almost bodged Gale out of the way because Gale was going to make that run, and he just went for it himself. And that was confidence. And I thought he drove us forward with that. It's just a shame that we didn't then take that initiative along for the next 10 minutes, which is what you should do. When you're 2-1 down and you equalise, you should then be going to exploit them and putting them under pressure. And we didn't do that at all. And that was disappointing for me. And that's where the leadership on that particular team comes from, and that's where the tactics on the line. And whether we had decided to shut up shop, I'm not too sure. Whether we decided to sit back for 5 minutes, which is for me ridiculous thing to do in that situation. We should have gone for it. We should have been looking for that third goal.
A few rumours about Mike Ashley being at the game today. I'm not sure how true that was. I think the cameras might have picked that up if
the plane spotters have been spotting helicopters today.
Yes,
so it's possible. I believe he was at the last match with Barnes. That's what I was told. So it's entirely possible.
We've lost Malcolm. I don't know where he's gone, whether he's cut himself off or whatever, but we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I am conscious of the fact that people are going to be wanting to get off and clap the NHS, so we will finish a couple of minutes early just so you can do that. A couple of comments coming in. Twister Man, not sticking up for Joe Linton, guys, but come on, how many other players played well today? St James's Park brings out the worst rather than next to the team. Check out results against the bottom 8 teams for a reality check. Josh Blakey says if Shelby doesn't play deep, we have no way of progressing the ball through midfield. The normal tendency for our centre-backs is to go long. Shelby's the only centre midfielder we have who was comfortable breaking lines. Tim Cairns, I agree with you. I mean,
agree with that. Yeah,
he had a pretty good game. And Graham Townsley, do you not think we need clever players? What I mean is to release the ball quicker, know where your teammates are, play shorter passes instead of Hollywood balls many times. Yeah, you're all right, Graham. I think that'll come. Yeah,
that's a transition that we talk about, isn't it? The transition between the defence and midfield and moving on to attack and creating things. And when Shelby gets the ball, he has the vision to get round. I think the point that we're trying to get at is that you encourage the Hollywood ball if you're playing so far back. Get those central defenders that 10 yards further forward and push their defenders back. It's a game of transition. It's a game of, and if we're quicker at it, then that's when the opportunities occur.
The press conference is taking place. Not a great deal coming out of it, apart from a little bit of agitation on behalf of Steve Bruce, who's asked about the takeover again, and he's basically said, "I'm bored and fed up of answering this. Can we move on?" So even getting a bit ratty and bored with the takeover talk now, lads.
Join the gang.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got Man City coming up on Wednesday, lads. So I will speak to you then, and obviously we'll be back together again on Friday night. But I'll let you get off and.
I'll tell you what, Friday night, lads.
Yeah.
Steve, do you fancy putting the BZG cards on the table on Friday night?
Why not?
We'll get asked about it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll have a BZG special on Friday night. That would be good. That would be interesting. We'll certainly talk about that. Well, I'll see you on Wednesday night, lads, after the match for a post-match on Man City, or maybe that'll be a post-mortem.
We'll see.
Thanks for joining us, lads. Have a good night. Take care.
Right, take care,
lads. Nice to see you guys.